There is an old bit of wisdom that beauty is only skin deep, but ugly is to the bone. Mystara has had its share of absolute monsters, and today we're looking at some of the most powerful evil Fae creatures in the known world. Or at least, they were retconned to Fae. Nicholas, tell them what the topic is today.
Hag.
I beg your pardon?
Evil old woman considered frightful or ugly.
Thank you, Nicholas. Most people don't know Mystara has hags in it, as they don't appear in many modules, and that's probably good for the players because our hags are pretty much at the top of the hag hierarchy. I'm not sure what inspired the writers to make ours 3 times tougher and more challenging to kill than the non-Mystaran hags, but such is the case. Welcome to Mystara. I'm Mr. Welch, and honey, you got real ugly. Hags originally appeared in various rulebooks for BECMI, either in the Master Rules set or the Rule Cyclopedia. The original hags were just the black and sea varieties, with the green hag added later when the setting switched to 2nd edition. And I would like to thank Frank for alphabetizing the hags under H instead of black and C, as I did with the original Monster Manual. Unlike other TSR versions of hags, Mystara's versions have built-in mastery over the undead that are immune to their special abilities. Unlike 5th edition, they're also all women. Or at least they look like women, they are very much not human. Mystara adds several other versions of hags, such as the low-powered Crone of Chaos, as well as the Crones of Sadistic. The Crones are more of a story element than a boss fight, but you have to include them in, because they will want a boss fight. The Crones, probably the players as well. The Vault adds the Crone of Ages from Scottish folklore. This creature, in an insane form, appears in a master-level adventure, but only showcases one of her abilities, and isn't called by her actual name. The point of hags is to punish all things good. They hate happiness, joy, and harmony, but they aren't mindless killers. They want the people enjoying themselves to suffer. They are sadists one and all, except the Crone of Ages, but that's just because the Scottish labeled them as hags. So none of the descriptions I'm giving right now apply to the 4-1 Odrin, except for the one called Zagronia, because she's insane. Hags are unseelie without exception, with 2 known archfey rising from their ranks with Black Annis and Ginny Greenteeth. In the Fae Court, they're on their best behavior because the She Court does not tolerate random acts of evil. But in the mortal world, they are free to kill and torment to their black heart's content. The typical hag will find a good creature they will immediately view with an intense hatred. The purer the individual, the greater the hatred. They especially despise children, and those are the hag's favorite prey. But it's not enough for them to kill their victims. They have to play with them first. By play, I mean give them what they want, betray them, and then eat them. Despite being quite powerful creatures, they don't like to pick on people who can put up a fight. Hags tend to be cowards in this regard. It doesn't matter how pure the paladin is, he's not going to be targeted if he can stand up to a hag. His children, on the other hand, are fair game. All Mystaran hags have some degree of undead control. There's a bit of a continuity snarl in how this works, but they will normally have twice their hit dice on undead servants, as long as the servants' hit dice are less than the hags. There's no limit to the type of undead they control, and undead as a rule will not attempt to attack a hag. Not that it's going to do them any good, because our lovely ladies will no-sell all undead special attacks. No level drains, vampires can't charm them, reveners can't steal their senses, they're immune to ghoul paralysis, and so on. They will also have a small retinue of evil creatures to serve as their more intelligent minions, or at least the ones they like better than the undead. Black hags, for example, love slimes, and will have a good number of them in their lair. Some of the hags cast clerical spells, and that was retconned to wizard spells, but only a few of them. To keep them fey and in line with the Tall Tales rules, give them the wizard spells, like they got in 2nd edition, but restrict them to illusion magic. This normally only affects the black hag, but it's far more in line with how the creature operates. This also can apply to the Crones of Sadistic, but you're not supposed to fight those until they want to fight. The first hag in our rogues gallery is the black hag, the scourge of villages and backroads. This lovely lady, with iron teeth and talons, stands almost 8 foot tall in her natural form. She enjoys spreading slow-acting diseases, instilling paranoia in isolated homesteads, and rolling around in flowers, until they've all been crushed. She can have up to 20 hit dice, acts as a spellcaster of equal level, and if she must, will fight with poison claws that will give you a save or die with a pretty hefty penalty. According to later rules, they're supposed to be found in covens of 3, but this chick is already a beast mechanically. If you do a coven of black hags, make them low-powered, as they are never found in their lairs without all sorts of slimes and oozes, as well as undead servants. One of their favorite tactics is to turn a family on each other until one is driven to suicide or murder, and then reveal herself in her treachery. Good times. Sea hags are hideous even by hag standards, and that's saying something. They are found in shallow waters off the coast. They are so ugly they can cause a fear save against those that can see her in her true form. She only has 8 hit dice, but does level drain and inflicts disease on a hit, no save. She wants to watch all goodness and beauty drown, so don't go out with your fish friends and your date on a rowboat singing about kissing a girl if there's a hag in the vicinity. They have magical powers to change their appearance and will try to lure particularly handsome sailors close, then drop the illusion and eat the guy. You know where this is going. She will have her minions guarding her lair, but rarely assisting in her hunts. Sea hags are loners, and while powerful, are considered one of the weakest versions of hags. Green hags are found in swamps, and they like to jack with travelers and get them hopelessly lost. They love watching people fall into despair as they're unable to escape their surroundings. Then, when all is lost, the hag stops by for a quick snack. Or not so quick if she wants her victim to suffer. Aiding her in this hobby is her magical ability to mimic voices and her minions, which tend to include at least one will-o-wisp. Of all the hags, these are most likely to have a coven, though they prefer to hunt alone. A good kill is like fine wine to them, and they don't like sharing. The Crone of Chaos is the weakest of all hags, and even then, she's got a lot of hit points. Unless you're playing Journey to the Rock, where despite the most apparent ambush in the world, she's got a manageable number of hit points for a low-level party instead of the 6 hit dice of wounds she's normally sporting. These Crones are natural illusionists and can dominate animals to fight for them. While they aren't considered hags in the truest sense, they match the description of them perfectly, so lump this sexy mama into the rest of them. She can summon 1d6 magical daggers who will fight for her until destroyed, and then she can just summon them all over again. She appears with her illusion magic as a fair maiden who is usually in some sort of peril. And if you're going to use this power, don't just leave her chained to a rock as a sexy half-naked girl in the middle of a mountain trail. That didn't fool me in the 80s, and it's not going to fool anybody today.
It's a trick. Get an axe.
The Crone of Ages, aka the Forward Oedran, is a classic monster from Scottish folklore who only appears as the Crone of Time in the module Twilight Calling. These Crones aren't evil. Well, they can be, but most exist to test mortals and punish the ones they find wasting their lives. These hags appear as women of any age and often approach people they find interesting, as a child, a young woman, and then an old woman. They will test their subject to see how they treat each version of the Crone. Those who fail the tests find themselves aged. Those who pass will often get their youth restored. Consider them the gray sheep of the hag family, as they are almost always true neutral. They don't have typical hag powers, they don't control undead, they don't kill you with a hit, and they don't have evil minions. Man, I'll take one of those back. They can kill you on a hit, but it's only because they've aged you to death. And don't get cocky, elf players. They age people proportionately. They might hit a human for 20 years, but they will happily slap 2 centuries out of the pointy-eared folk. And again, these are only classified as hags because the Scottish said so. The first of the hag archfey is Jenny Greenteeth. She was a green hag who had a thing for drowning children. When she managed to drown an entire town searching for their lost kids, she got her archfey status. She is one of the evilest creatures found in Mystara. She is known as the Storm Hag, as she has developed some degree of weather control to help drown entire ships for fun. She is looked up to by the Green and Sea Hags, who see her as the pinnacle of evil. She loses her power on land, something that can be exploited. She has no real allies, as the other archfey see her as little more than a monster. Even the Unseelie view her as too one-dimensional in her evil to be much fun. Black Annis, aka Black Annie, Black Agnes, Black Anna, and Little Orphaning Annie, is the archfey patron of the Black Hags, and one of the most powerful Unseelie. Annis is an absolute beast, well over 15 foot tall with long metal talons. She loves to drag these across the ground or leave claw marks on the homes that she's hunting in. The hag is the devourer of children without mercy or compassion. Annis prefers not to use illusions in her hunt, as just slowly walking towards the children while singing a mocking song about their fate when she catches them makes her laugh. She will slaughter anyone who gets between her and her prey, but her weakness is she can't harm children who aren't afraid of her, and she has no defense against them. Black Annis takes double damage from a child's attack, and her minions share the same weakness. She is far more intelligent than Jenny Greenteeth, and is well regarded by the other Unseelie. Her biggest enemy is Gilly Doo, who protects children in the forest. They have had numerous epic clashes in the past, often leveling half a forest in their battles. The Crones of Christic are a reoccurring coven in Mystara, first appearing in Test of the Warlords and then later in Saber River. They are unique creatures representing all 3 major alignments in Beckme. Makisa is lawful, Bathidia is neutral, and Chasandri gets to be chaotic. They're supposed to represent the Norns, but this causes continuity problems again. They are the ones that provide the players with all the background they need to thrive in Norworld, although the whole Alphatia being Atlantis is a bit of a false start. Atlantis isn't a myth in Mystara, so they might as well tell the players that Alphatia's true name is Pittsburgh. Yeah, it sinks later, Alphatia, not Pittsburgh, but the characters will still have no clue what that name is supposed to mean. Rules-wise, the Crones are high-powered spellcasters, and despite them being info dumps, they're going to fight the party. The fight seems to be there just so the module has combat in that encounter, as everybody is brought back to life after the fight. If all the Crones die, they will still return to life later, but the party doesn't get to know that Alphatia secretly flies the terrible towel. For the most part, hags are supposed to be boss-level monsters. They even bring their own group of minions. They focus on illusions and misdirection, but they're cowards at heart and don't want to fight adventurers that can put up a real fight. Except for the Crones of Christic, but they're freaks. Hags are meant to be mysteries that need to be solved. If kids are disappearing, the party needs to find out who's responsible. They are smart. They know how to misdirect people and ramp up paranoia. Hags will be more than happy to frame the old widow and see if people will harm her without any proof. This just adds to the evil reveal later. If it can be avoided, the party should not face a hag in a straight-up fight. The monsters will try to isolate individuals and take them out one at a time. Having the ability to look like other people is a significant help. Forcing the characters to fight them on their turf is their primary tactic. Again, this doesn't apply to the Crone of Ages, who is more curious than evil, and her job is to, again, serve as an info dump, because of all the time-related history that they're familiar with. Those are the hags. They are a core creature in the setting, though they haven't seen much love at all. Because they're so rare, making one a villain makes for a deadly encounter with a creature players won't be expecting. Next week is Relations with the Outer Planes. If immortals and archfey get along like neighbors who never speak, immortals and gods get along like neighbors who mow over each other's flower beds. It's gonna be spicy. Until then, who wants a foot rub?